Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new show. I know it looks pretty the same right now, but there are some changes now with 2021. Hopefully, as the nation's health gets better and as we pull our way out of this COVID crisis, we can build newer and greater things. And at Southwest Center, one of those newer and greater things are we want to bring more intersectionality, more voices, more people to the table who are of gender expansive experience. So what started out as a 3-episode series called Ask a Navigator that then expanded to a lot more than 3 episodes, became what really wasn't just asking me about transitioning or what it's like to be trans. It was talking to y'all, gender expansive folk. So gender expansive folk having discussion together for other gender expansive folk, transgender, non-binary, non-conforming, what have you. And as this show progressed to more than just a cis assumed, straight assumed white guy on screen, it became very evident to all of us on the team, of whom we have a new member, that the show was more than just Ask a Navigator. And so I present to you Gender Q, a place where gender expansive people talk to other gender expansive people for gender expansive persons' purposes. This show, from the background to the front screen, is going to have trans, non-binary, non-conforming individuals. And we hope to hear from trans, non-binary, non-conforming individuals and our allies as these episodes continue. So welcome to Gender Q, and we're so happy to have you. Our newest team member, well, there's going to be 2 tonight, is Kendra. So many of you probably know Kendra. Kendra's the stepping down president of Trans Spectrum Arizona. It's the largest peer-to-peer support group in the Southwest, with over 400, 500 members. I'm sure Kendra will correct me. She has been hired on as our trans resource navigator. So the trans program has now doubled the navigation staff. And I never thought this day would come, and it's been so desperately needed. Kendra's going to be leading the show tonight. I will be stepping away because while I do have a voice, it's been heard enough for a while, and maybe you'll see me in the months to come. We want to invite more people who aren't me, more persons from diverse experiences to the show to speak. So without further ado, Kendra, where are you? So good to see you as a coworker.
It's awesome.
I can think of no one better to be a trans resource navigator, and I'm so thankful for you every day. And I leave the show in your very, very capable hands. And bye to everyone. I'll see you someday soon.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. My name, like Ian said, my name is Kendra. I'm the new trans resource navigator here at the Southwest Center. This month is Black History Month, and as you can see, I'm not Black. I have Black family history, and I have a lot of Black friends and family, and so I wanted to highlight a few of them. One of them being my new boss. Naomi is a transplant from the Midwest, and she's going to be here with us to help answer some questions. And then one of my sisters who gave me the honor of being in my wedding when my wife and I renewed our vows. Kimberly Zaire Jordan is one of my closest friends and someone I would do just about anything for. And she's doing me the honor of coming and answering some questions for you all. So as Ian said, we're going to be moving forward with the gender queue and trying to make sure that we do have expansiveness in through this process, making sure that everyone who works on this process is queer in some way, and make sure that we actually have representation throughout all venues and everything that we do within this organization. Even in front of the camera, behind the camera, everyone that's working on this project is making sure that we are working together to make this as expansive for you all as possible. I just started my job. I've been in the position now for a total of 5 weeks. This is my 5th week on the job. I'm still in the middle of the process of doing all my training and making sure that we can get the proper information out to you all. And I'm working to make sure that happens, and then making sure I'm having the right way of doing that for you. I have a great team around me, and I have a lot of great people I'm really looking forward to working with. So first I'll bring on Naomi. She is my new boss. Like I said, she's a transplant from the Midwest, and I'm really looking forward to introducing her.
Hi.
Naomi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm great.
I'm glad to see you. I'm glad to see. I was glad to see you in the office today. You were feeling better, so I'm glad.
Oh yeah, so I'll explain that. I actually had my first vaccination for COVID on Thursday, and it kicked me in the butt.
Mhm.
It was not fun. I did not enjoy it.
But it was all right. We was able to get it over with.
Definitely, we got the work done and stuff, and everything got done. So how do you feel about your first? This has been your first full week on the job now. Today was your 1 week anniversary. How you feeling?
Yes, it's been interesting. I came in and I jumped right into work. Like my first day, I believe within my first hour, I had your one-on-one, and then I've been working ever since. I've been in a bunch of meetings. But it's fun. I love the work that I do. I've been working in behavioral health and behavioral interventions for the last 10 years. So it's really interesting to see how Arizona does it and the different people I meet in Arizona. So I'm excited. I love a challenge. So yeah, I'm having fun.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Like I said, I did LinkedIn and Facebook stalk you for a little bit. So I mean, before you got here, so I kind of had a little
Oh,
bit
it's
of
fine.
history
I
on
looked
you.
at everybody too. I always investigate first before I. Yes, I see everybody. I was like, oh, okay, okay, seems interesting. I, whenever I come to a new agency, I like to see if there's a girl like me in there, and if there's not, then that kind of gives me pause. So I was happy to see another girl like me.
Perfect. Well, I'm gonna introduce our mutual friend, Kimberly Zaire Jordan.
Hello, ladies.
Hey,
The
sis.
gorgeous Kimberly.
Thank you.
Thank you both for showing up here. Kim, once again, you mean the world to me, and there isn't anything I wouldn't do for you, woman. So,
Thank you.
So because it is Black History Month, I did want to have people of color, Black women, come on and actually speak their truths. Did one of you want to share something first, or did you want to give a little bio about yourself, kind of introduce yourself to the crowd?
I can. You want to go first, Naomi, or you want me to go first?
You can go first. I feel like.
Okay. Well, my name is Kimberly Zaire Jordan. I started my transition in 1994. In 2000, I became interested in working with HIV and AIDS patients. I was certified in 2002, and from then forward, I've been working to make sure trans women get the resources, and resources are available for us when we need them. I've been in touch with a lot of agencies here in Arizona trying to get things started, so I'm glad to see you here, Naomi.
Thank you. Thank you. I will say, so I actually, I've been feminine presenting for over 10 years. I started my transition on hormones basically within the last 4. This is year 4. I got into this work when I graduated high school when I was 16 and I started college. And I was living a life a little faster than a lot of people. And at the age of 16, I was diagnosed with HIV, and it really pushed me into this work. Because it was in a space where it was not something that was talked about. And I went to a historically Black college in the middle of Jackson, Tennessee. And being one feminine presenting was not acceptable. And then being a person who was positive, there was not a lot of resources. And one thing that really pushed me is there was no resources for girls like me. So that pushed me into this work. And I've been in this work for the last 10 years, working in mental health and behavioral health facilities, as well as HIV serving agencies. So yes, this really pushed me into this work.
Well, thank you for both of you. Thank you both for coming, and thank you both for sharing a little bit about yourself. I appreciate it. As you both said, you're actively working within the HIV community to make sure to make Black people get the resources they need. As we all know, Black people are exponentially affected by the HIV virus, way more so than other communities. Would you like to touch on maybe why that's the case?
Lack of resources and lack of knowledge, lack of competent providers that are working with our communities. We're not going to mistaken that, the Tuskegee experiments did happen. Henrietta Lacks did happen. So there's a lot of distrust when it comes to when it comes to providers and healthcare systems. It's not something that we don't know that a lot of African American individuals don't have insurance or have access to certain providers or things like that. So these resources are vital when you're in a space. And then we also got to think the employment rates, these different things that stand in the way of you being a healthy person, which is like your job, the resources for food, housing, all of these things take place, and they are not as given to people of color. It's a fight for those type of resources. And with those things, we have issues of, especially within the Black trans community, where there's survival sex. There is, a lot of women of trans experience who are people of color have to resort to sex work because of lack of jobs and things like that. So all of these play an effect when it comes to our health. And no one is looking at condoms when you're trying to find something to eat at night. No one's looking for condoms when you're trying to figure out where you're going to sleep. And then you also have to think I was talking to a friend earlier today, within the last 10 years, even getting access to like hormones, it's very new. When I first started and was interested in hormones when I was in college, you have to live your life for a year before you can start hormones. So all of these things, so people start doing things off the streets to get their hormones, which puts them at more risk. All of these take place and causes these issues within the Black community because they're prevalent in our community.
I'm gonna piggyback on that and say I think that stigma within the Black community is one of the biggest reasons why Black people don't seek out treatment or even seek to get help. I'm gonna tell you a small little story about when I started helping in this industry. I was going to an all-male support group, and some of the men that were in that support group were also testers at the local health center. Those men would literally prey on the people that came into that center. If they weren't spreading those men's business, they were trying to have sex with them. And it was something that I could not understand, because I'm like, if you're there to help somebody, why prey on people? And I think that's what keep a lot of gay men out of things, because they're afraid they're going to be preyed upon going to get tested, or their business is going to be on the street because people talk. I know people now that work at some centers in other states, and they run off with people's business, and it's not a cute thing. I don't want to hear about who is positive, who is not. I treat people the same regardless of what your status is. But I think that is one of the stigmas that scares Black people from going in, because they're afraid their business is going to be put out in the street and lose friends and lose family and lose everything that they have. So, yeah.
I want to touch on the fact that a lot of the early HIV campaigns and a lot of things that were happening early in the HIV and AIDS epidemic everything was geared to white gay men, and it wasn't geared towards the Black and Hispanic communities to get them the help that they needed. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Because of money. They had money. Those were the ones that were supposed to be saved because they had money. There has been times where even you can go to, there's been patients that come in and tell them that providers have mistreated them so bad that they don't even want to come back. I said, and when you put forth that forefront that, we only gonna put up media that get white people in to get tested, it makes everyone else feel like they're not valued, that you don't care, and they don't have access. And that puts us at a standpoint of like people feeling like I can't go there. They only treat the white gays, or they only treat the white girls, and that those are clear things that have been said. And in the early years, because of the medications and things like that, it was already stigma around being gay and being positive, but the meds, that the cost of them was very expensive. Black people couldn't afford them. Especially Black LGBT individuals coming from the ballroom scene who lived on the pier, who did. How can you afford meds that's costing $2,000 and $3,000? Like, even for me, when I first started my first meds of ART, they said those meds were $3,200. I was 16 years old. How would I afford to get some $3,200 pills without insurance?
Or
at 16 years old.
Or a grant specifically tailored to you.
Mm-hmm. And at the time, they didn't have grants specifically tailored towards that. They didn't have none of it. Was all out of your pocket or out of your insurance. Thank God my mom did have insurance that covered me. But just think, if I was living and homeless and I didn't have insurance, because if you're under the age of 18, you can't apply for your own insurance. A lot of our kids don't speak to their families, so how are they applying for insurance? So they can't even get the access to the medication if they wanted to, if they were trying to, because there were limited resources for people of color. So a lot of the media, until like these last, I would say 10, 15 years, a lot of the media has always been focused on individuals that were not of color because of access and money.
Did you want to elaborate on that at all, Kim?
No, I'm good on that one. I'll save my comment for something.
Okay, sure. So Ian had actually made a comment in the Facebook feed saying his meds right now cost $2,000, and thank God for programs like Ryan White. Without Ryan White, the funds wouldn't be available for people. So, and and I know Ryan White is big funding for a lot of the things that we do at the Southwest Center. So making sure that we cover everyone throughout the spectrum and make sure everyone is taken care of is super important to me, and I know everyone else at the Southwest Center, and we're working towards making that happen across the board. I don't really see any
I think once Ryan White was put into place, it helped a lot of people, because the medicine has always been so expensive for everybody, and that's been the most complaint within the Black community is the cost. And getting medicine regularly, and making sure that they can get what they need to be healthy. And sometimes that's hard for people. Sometimes, like when I started to help start the Ruth Ellis Center and the trans program under that, I did street outreach. I did street outreach in the middle of the night because I was in charge of that program, and I felt that was when the most vulnerable were out. I didn't want them to come sit up in no fancy place and look at me and talk to me. I wanted to go down on their level so they would understand that I meant what I meant, and I wasn't there just to be there. And sometimes I think as agencies, that's what needs to happen. You got to get down to the grit of the issue and go where the people are. Not sitting up in a fancy office all the time is going to get stuff done. It's just not. That's the truth.
Thank you for that life lesson. It is really important to follow through with that. And that's definitely something that I'm going to actively work towards making happen, at least in my position. And I know Naomi's behind that, and I know Ian's behind helping me with that as well. So, I'd be remiss to not bring it up. So so I'm going to bring it up. You're both Black trans women. You're both above the
volume.
Huh?
That my volume went all the way completely down for some odd reason.
Okay.
Let me get my speaker up.
Okay. So I'll say the question after Kim gets here, but basically it's you're of an age when Black trans women, you're of an age where you shouldn't have lived past this point if you go by statistics. Do you want to enlighten everyone about that?
Yeah, statistically, like I will speak on my thoughts around it. Being a Black trans woman, we're not supposed to live past 25, 30? And not to add in, you throw in HIV and other things that dramatically drops it. But the thing is, there's so much stigma behind trans women, and people feel that we are just sexualized objects. And once they're done with us. They can dispose of us. And there's a large amount of violence specifically towards Black and brown trans women, because people see us as disposable. They know that there's limited resources for girls like us. A lot of the girls are homeless. A lot of the girls don't have jobs, so they have to resort to sex work. They don't have access to the doctors and access to the things. We have girls who are going to backdoor pumping parties and things like that. And that is really in our community. And all of these things play into our health. And these things are killing us. But we have been pushed so far down in the bottom of the barrel that this is all that we have. And we have to wear our truth every day. And every day it's a risk. Every day you could be killed. Every day you can have, speaking from my own, when I was in college, I was raped by someone who worked at the school and it was covered up. I was attacked at the school. They did not care. Every day, because I was feminine presented, I had to go to the student affairs office and talk to the vice president of student affairs so she could tell me how I should not be wearing what I was wearing, how I am tempting these men away from God. These were administrators at my college, and this was my reality. And when you live a life like that, how are you supposed to prosper? When everything in this world is literally against you. We can't even have spaces where we can have and talk about our issues without situations happening. Girls every day are dying just for wearing their truth. And people, we have so much stigma around us that it's okay for people to hurt us and to harm us and to do all of these things to us. And they get no type of punishment. And it's just okay. People value the life of animals more than they value that of trans women. To be a trans person in my position and where I've made it, like at this age, is unheard of, which is drastic. Like to even be here, and then what really hurts me is to be here and people be like, "I'm so happy to see you there," and I'm happy, but I don't want to be the only one. There should not be only one me. There should be a trans woman in every boardroom. It should be a trans woman on every leadership team. There should be a trans woman leading in every way possible. We're just as smart. We're just as pretty. We're just as everything else. So why is it that if you do make it to past a certain point, you get tokenized? And if you're not tokenized, you're not worth it. If they can't sell you, you're not worth it. And so it's a game played over and over again. It's so much stigma around just being a trans woman and living in our experience that when you do make it to a certain point, it's just like I had to excel beyond leaps just to be in certain positions because I have to prove myself as a Black, and it's just because I'm a Black trans woman. It's not because I'm not smart, I'm not educated, none of that. I have all that. According to my resume, baby, I am off the charts. But because I'm a Black trans woman and I show up like this, I have to fight twice as hard. And even still, there's been times I've worked at institutions where I have to fight to go to the women's bathroom. And all of my documents say female. And still to this day, I have to argue why I have to go to the bathroom or argue why there need to be gender inclusive meetings. And these are at corporations. I've worked for big organizations, arguing with them, and they're not seeing the worth in me. They only hire you because they can say, we have a trans woman here. We have a trans woman of color. And that's our reality.
Kim, would you like to elaborate on that?
That we're definitely considered a token. We're always a token Black trans women. Even when I first started, I came out and got involved in agencies that help other trans women. They thought I was a lesbian. When they found out I was not a lesbian, I was like, I would go to conferences and they would like hand out questionnaires like, what issues do you want to address? And then I would put down trans and the trans issues, and they would like read the papers out loud, and they'd be like, well, who's here trans that wants to help? And I'm like, me. They're like, oh, we thought you was a lesbian. And I'm like, no, ma'am. I'm here to represent my ladies. That's why I put on the paper what I put. So let's get the work done and stop bullcrapping. You know, so many agencies say, okay, we want to do this. We want to do this. We want to do this. We want to do that. When girls like me show up, it's like, oh, wait, I ain't know you was black. Like, I got asked, I didn't know I was black. I mean, they know I was black, but they didn't know I was a trans woman to represent people. I've been asked to do things, and they be like, oh, we thought you was just a funny old loud woman. No, ma'am. I'm trans, and I'm going to represent myself and my sisters no matter what area or arena I step in.
But you are a funny old loud woman. I'm just going to say that.
I try to be sometimes. You know, I got to be a little jokey joke. But it's sad how we are still discriminated against. Example, when they had the trans health conference at Parsons, I took it upon myself to go around to every agency that was there. And my question was, do you feel your agency is inclusive? Now I'm talking to everybody that doesn't look like me. And their response was, no. Okay, well, what are you trying to do about it? Are you trying to reach out to girls in the area to help? Are you reaching out to local girls across the country? How are you going to intertwine us in y'all? Because sometimes we don't feel represented. Just don't. I need to be represented in everything. And I'm trying to help girls get to those places. I'm doing the best I can. But we need to be included in every decision that's made. We need a big old seat at the table, about 5 or 6 of us. Not one, but 5 or 6. Because I think we are the most
able to do every job.
and the most that have the most to I'm not saying other trans women don't have to fight. I'm not saying it. But we gotta fight, number one, because we are of color. That's our first fight.
Mm-hmm.
Then we gotta fight because we're of color in our own trans community sometimes. Like, you know my story, Kendra, when I first came here and went to a white trans group and they asked me to fill out all this stuff online before I showed up to make sure I was safe. And then I get there and nobody speaks to me. Nobody says hello to me. And I'm loud sometimes. I was like, hey girls, how everybody doing? They didn't even stop eating their food. They ain't stopped chewing to say hello to me. And people don't see that within our own community. They don't see the racism that's there, that's implanted. The privilege that some have over others. We got to fight for ourselves sometimes. We have to. We can't always fight for all the other, all the trans issues when the trans issues don't respect the Black girls half the time. And I ain't standing with you if you don't respect me. If you just need me for a token day or a token this, I'm not standing with you. I'm more than just a day. I'm a whole motherfucker. 365 days.
Yes, you are, man.
I caught myself.
Hey.
Caught myself. Because it's hurtful. Because I don't look at people with colors. I don't. I love on everybody. Long as you got a good heart and a good spirit, we ain't gonna fall out. We ain't gonna have no issues. You know, just like within your trans spectrum group, that's why a lot of us African American girls stopped going, was because of the racism within the group. How can girls sit back and laugh at other girls' experience like it's funny? And then you're laughing at an elder within the group. The eldest person in the room, you decide to say, oh, it's funny because she's having a breakdown because she's expressing the racism that she feels. It's not funny.
No,
and that's what a lot of girls with a little privilege, they feel it's funny or it's jokey joke. So that's the day me and the girls left and haven't been back since. And me and you have talked, we're real close about trying to get things changed. And I've seen the inclusive things that you've been trying to do. But I think so much damage has been done in Arizona that these people of color don't want to show up for it because they're tired of being disrespected. They're tired.
And I understand that. And I understand, the fact that you can only have a door slammed in your face so many times or laughed in your face so many times. I get it. I mean, and I'm sorry that that's the case.
I
You know how
know.
I
It's sad.
you know how I feel. You know
I
how
know
I
you
feel
hear from
about
me.
you.
I know. I know, babe. I know. I try to get everybody to feel that way about me. But we're getting there. Well, you have made progress since me knowing you and the work that you do within the community. You have tried. I've seen you try and try and try over and over again. So I know you're willing to put in the work. That's why I was happy when you told me you got the position. Seeing now, I'm happy that Naomi's there. See, I'm happy twice. So things can get done for girls that need it,
I'm
and they can
adjusting.
feel
You know,
comfortable.
I'm gonna, I'm
Arizona is
gonna,
a hard one to swallow. It's a lot different from Wisconsin.
I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use this privilege as much as I can. You know.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
On that note, and I know it's not your job to tell a white person how to support you. That'll be the first thing how I'll preface this statement. But that being said, do you have recommendations on how to make that happen?
Advocate for the Black girl. If you want to see the changes, if you know that they listen to you, advocate for the girls that you want to see in the building. You shouldn't want to just only see a whitewashed building. You should not only want to see just a certain level of girls. If you up in there and you know you have a voice, right, speak up for those Black girls, because there's a lot of Black girls who can't even get in the room to speak up for themselves. So there's a lot of resources, and if you have that privilege, use it. It's okay that you can state, like, I have a privilege, but how are you using it? Are you using it to better you? Are you using it to better all of us?
See, and that's just like I had issues with finding just trans support groups, period. When I searched, I seen the Latin girls, then I seen for the Native American girls, then I seen for mostly Caucasian girls. But then I was like, well, where are the Black girls support at? We don't have our own, but as soon as we try to form our own, we're called racist. But everybody else got their own. But we're not supposed to. Sometimes our issues are different because we're struggling different. So most Black girls have done survival sex work and still are. Not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but sometimes when we go in other groups and bring that up or tell about ourselves, it's looked down upon. Listen, honey, I ain't selling sex just to go out and party. I'm selling sex to put food on my table, make sure my bills are paid, or make sure all my bills are paid. I got a roof over my head, not just so I could take the money and go out and party. And I think that's the perception that a lot of people have with sex work. And Black girls that do it is that they're doing it just so they can go out and party or get high and get drunk. No, most girls are doing it for rent or food for the day.
Put food in their belly. Put a roof over their head.
Absolutely. There's so much stigma against us in our own community that it's shameful to me. Because I grew up, when I first came out, with girls of all shades. All shades. I ain't know Arizona was going to be this tough on me. I ain't know it. And I'm a tough chick. Arizona has broke me down 2 or 3 times.
It's difficult because, like, back home, I was a part of Sisters Helping Each Other Battle Adversities, and we did trans marches, and these were Black trans women.
Right.
So coming from a space where I was circled and feel, and like they, not just Black trans women, but Black trans women who poured into me.
Yeah.
Not only coming here, not only is it very siloed, it's very much so like ever since I've been here, Kim has been like, girl, call me, I'm here. But like outside of that, it's been, and you know, me and Kendra we talked, and but it's very siloed. It's very much so like every girl is trying to survive, and it gets to a point where you can't even blame them because it's a survival game for them. Helping feed you might let me starve. And when you're not used to that, and you come into it, it's just like, what in the, what is going on? It's a shock. Like, even for me, it's just like I'm trying to adjust because I got so used to, I know all the struggles that we face as trans women, but I was in a space where trans women protected trans women. They did check hands. Me, I got girls that we knew that certain girls did sex work. Well, guess what? Before you do that date, you would text me like, I got this person coming. And then, you know what? If you don't text me back in an hour or 35 minutes, I'm texting you. Is everything okay? If you're not answering, I'm calling. We had girls who were, you know, if you are working the streets, baby, they would come down the streets and bring you food from their house so that you would eat. They know that you're doing what you have to do to survive. And they know that you're going to do it because you need to survive. We understand hormones cost money. ART costs money. Houses, all these things cost money. And then you have to also keep your appearance up to make more money. So I knew girls who would be like, okay, how can I help you, sis? Girls who would tell you which doctors to go to that will be most inclusive for you. Girls, if you want to start looking into surgeries, they will let you know which surgeons to go to and what programs work for you. And sometimes the girls will show you how to beat the system. I ain't saying it's right, but it was the truth. They'll tell you how to do it. And it was the way that we survived. And that's where I come from. So coming down here is very much so like, oh, I ain't used to this.
That's why when I found out he was coming down here, I was so happy.
Yeah, I was like, I'll come. I'm here. I'm here. But yes, that was the biggest adjustment for me, because even though Sheba was never always like the best space, like we had our issues. Girls don't have issues.
Right.
When you throw girls' hormones in a room, you're gonna have some issues. But there was an underlying love of I want you here. And one thing about Sheba, we had lost too many girls in the past. That when we had certain girls come to leadership, it was like we done losing girls. We done. Because we weren't just losing them to Sheba, to the streets. We was losing them in the ground. They were dying. Girls were going to get, illegal surgeries and things like that. And we were having sisters drop dead. So we had to come together and really be like, how do we, because we also have a large trans population of youth.
Yeah.
Do we want young girls to come up and this cycle to continue? When do the cycle stop? We tired of burying our sisters. Girls, you probably couldn't stand going to Sheba meetings and seeing her, but guess what? I would hate to have to bury my sister.
Right. Can I ask you both a question since you're both at Southwest? Anytime in the near future, do you plan on putting together a pamphlet of resources for trans women?
I believe that's what Kendra's working on.
Great minds think alike, see?
Mm-hmm. We have, so one thing about the Trans Navigation Program is Kendra is working on resources, and she does have a lot of resources for us trans women specifically, as well as Ian has a lot of things when it comes to like medication, HRT, and situations like that. So so they are coming, and we do want to unroll something. It's just COVID has really put us in a space where how do we unroll it? How do we get people in? How do we do this? But yes, that's something that is on the book, and Kendra can more than speak more on that. But yeah.
So truly, it's really trying to like Naomi said is working within COVID and making sure that we can do the rollouts in a safe manner, and making sure because so many people within our community are immunely compromised, we don't want to make the situation worse by trying to get them the resources that they need. Let's try to make sure that we do it in a healthy manner is really what it comes down to. So the groundwork is being laid. There are a few irons in the fire. And with Naomi's help and Ian's help and with Dave's help, Ian's supervisor, we are working to make sure this process goes completely smooth, and we do roll out something really great for the trans community, and not just the trans women, trans men, gender nonconforming people, everyone in the trans umbrella.
I just was asking. That's all. I just need to know.
I'm doing my best, and I want it to be as multicultural and as colorful as possible. I want every girl to know that she has a space and a place to come get everything that she needs when it comes to her health. It's not just specifically for this population, no, because I do know that there are Black girls here too. I ain't the only one. Kim ain't the only one that needs to feel like there's a safe space. And one thing I did learn, and I have spoke to this around our organization, girls and community love to see people in leadership that looks like them.
Absolutely.
I said, and that's why I'm so eager. Like, I would get down there, I do outreach, I go outside, I do all, because at the end of the day, they want to see how far we've come.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it empowers them to come to the site, to see the Black girls, to see all these, to see trans women in certain positions, to walk in and see Kendra not only be here at Southwest Center, but she has a badge and she's going in the back.
Right.
That is powerful for a trans woman.
It is.
To hear my heels clicking on this floor.
Or
them
nerds rolling around in your pocket this afternoon.
Huh?
They're nerds rolling around in your pocket this afternoon.
Sure was, walking from room to room. You gonna hear me. You gonna hear me. You gonna hear me. You gonna know that I'm here. And you gonna know that this is a safe space for every Black girl possible. You gonna hear the way I talk. You gonna hear my colloquialisms. They might not be always correct, but guess what? This is me, and this is the culture in which I come from. And I want every girl who comes from cultures like mine to know that it's okay.
Right.
We're not always professional. It's times that you just gotta be you.
Look up, bucket. Yeah. Gotta be look up bucket every once in a while.
So I've been monitoring. Oh, go ahead. So I've been monitoring the chat.
Go ahead, sis.
And there hasn't been really no one's really been asking any questions. So I'm gonna ask the people watching it. Do you have any questions for these lovely ladies?
They might just say, looking at us three beautiful ladies.
We've only got them for about 15 more minutes.
I like being looked at.
Look at me, I can't be all day.
You ain't gotta turn away. I like being looked at. I got me a face on today, so I like being looked at.
I just want to say, let me say this before questions coming in, that I'm proud of both of you ladies, and I'm glad that you're in the positions that you're in, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Kim.
So thank you.
You have helped with my transition to Arizona because Arizona is different.
If you had reached out, if I had known you was coming early, I'd be like, it's a little different. You gotta bring your different stuff with you.
Every day I'm trying to find some clothes to wear in 97-degree weather. Where I'm from is Wisconsin is currently -4 degrees.
No. Okay, Kim, you gotta tell her this. Her blood's gonna thin in the next year or two, right? It is that 70 degrees is gonna feel cold to her at some point.
I got one jacket that I wear and winter boots. Like right now, my toes are freezing. I'm about to turn the heater on.
I had to argue with my apartment building because I was like, this air is not working good enough for me. It's not. I'm over here, mind you, it's hot, and then you throw in hormone hot flashes. This is not working for me. Like to the point that they was like, "What?" I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to get a lawyer involved because y'all have to do something." And
like I did with it when I first moved here. I kept messing with the thermometer, so it was up and down during the summer. My bills was like $300 a month. It's like, no, can't do that. We gotta find another solution. So I leave it on like 76 all year round. If it cut on, it cut on. If it cut off, 2-box fans because I'm from the Midwest. I'm good.
Oh, I gotta sleep with a fan. That's a Midwestern thing. You have to sleep with a fan. You could be freezing cold, but the fan has to be on, and it has to because I don't know if it's the sound. We're so used to so much noise in the Midwest. You gotta hear it when you go to sleep. That's how you know you're going to sleep right.
That's it.
I'm a Midwest girl. I'm sorry. It don't be this warm. What really is throwing me off, it's not exactly always the heat. It's the fact that I am used to, in Wisconsin, just like Kim is from, the Midwest as well. Yeah. We used to 4 seasons. So it's a shell shock to coming down here. And in February, it is 90 degrees.
Yeah, we have 1.2 seasons here in Arizona. We got like 4 weeks of winter.
Like literally, like in Wisconsin, we like I brought down all this stuff, and I have all these high boots. And
wait, I got 119.
Huh?
Wait till the 115s, the 119s, the 117s.
Oh, Jesus, that don't even sound right.
Once they start,
It
they don't
shouldn't be
go
that high.
nowhere.
You're not supposed to go up that high. It's not. Like, all my thigh-high boots, I just be sitting there looking at them.
Mine in the closet, hanging up. Just can't do nothing with them. Every once in a while on a cool evening. But other than that, it's summer clothes.
So one of the we do have a question in the chat.
Okay.
And it's really it's kind of we already touched on it because it's really how do allies advocate for you and work for you. But basically it's saying as a COS black man, how or COS gay man, how do they help? You know?
When you meet trans people, ask them what they need. Ask them how do you support them. And it changes. See, the thing is this, even for me and Kim, like we're one piece of the puzzle. So what we need and what these girls might need, or the girls who are working with you, or the girls that you stand by, all need something totally different. But the biggest issue that we have with advocates is when they just take apart and just want to start a fight that we never asked them to do. Like they be over there, we're going to do a trans march. Nobody asked you to do that. No one asked you. We're asking for certain things. So ask us, what do we need? Go to the these groups and understand what your community of trans women are telling you, because they're letting you know their issues and they're letting you know what battles they're fighting, and then you use your privilege to support them. Don't just pick up the fight on your own, because that's when we get offended, because it's just like you're doing something we never asked you to do.
Too much. I'm going to say be supportive more than anything. And when you don't know, please ask questions. Ask that person or ask somebody that's trans, but don't go just thinking on your own sometimes, because sometimes that put us in the bed.
I'll add that we're 3 different trans women from 3 different backgrounds. All have different needs, all have different things that we're going to need in our lives. And so all of us are going to have a different answer. So if you're going to ask us for help, to what we need to help, it's going to be different from every single one of us. So
absolutely,
make sure you're asking multiple people.
It's not just one blueprint. Like no human is just one blueprint. No males are not just one blueprint. Females are just not one blueprint, and neither are we.
So actually, our behind the scenes person that has a question for us, he wants to know, and we are wrapping up, we have about 10 minutes left, so I'll finish with this question for you both. The question is, what brings you joy as a Black trans woman?
That's a tough question. I've never really thought about it. You would ask a hard question, Eion.
I would say for me, honestly, stuff like this. Honestly, when I see women come together, no matter their shade of color, no matter what, but when I see women not only come together but empower, uplift, support each other, and come through for each other, as in, sis, you need support with that? Okay, I'll be on your show. Oh, sis, you need X, Y, and Z? I can do that. That brings me so much joy, because they don't expect that from us. They don't expect us to team up. They don't expect us to support each other. So that brings me so much joy to see other women like me.
I'm going to say there's 2 things that bring me joy. One is sisterhood, because I love gathering with my sisters, all races, all ethnicities, all genders. I love that. That brings me the most joy, really. And then also seeing Black trans women sitting at the table, being a part of the conversation. That's like when anybody asks me to show up or do something, okay, I'm there. I'll be there. I don't care what it is. I'm gonna show my face. And I think that's what gives me the most joy, are those 2 things.
Okay, so I have a comment here in the chat. It basically says, for those of us that hold places of privilege at our places of work that want to be able to bring in POC trans people to share their story. How can we connect with those that are interested? I know that it is not their responsibility to educate us, but there is something to say around exposing people at work, leadership sometimes, to circles that they wouldn't normally be exposed to. I think there is power to be able to hear experiences, feelings, emotions that they can draw from to help them be better active allies, be able to put diversity at the front of the mind.
Pay them. Pay these girls for their stories. Pay them for coming in there telling you about their trauma. There's so many times that we have trans women and people want to tokenize us. Oh, we want you to come speak. We want you to, but you know the disparities that come against us. Pay them. If you want them out of sex work, get them the job. If you want them to, they need help with insurance, help them get employed. Give them money. Like, if you want me to come there and tell you my situation and my story, y'all pay everybody else for theirs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I also think agencies around Arizona needs to form a diverse panel of trans women and men to go when they're needed to speak at different, like I did that when I lived in Detroit working for the Ruth Ellis Center. There was a panel of different, it was gay, lesbian, and myself. And we would go around to the different colleges when asked and do work, just answer questions. Because sometimes some people think they know people that are in trans or gay or whatever, and they don't. So they just start to get assumptions about everything about that lifestyle. I've changed a lot of people's thoughts about Black trans women. From friends, from foes, everybody, just because I keep it real. I ain't coming on you with no fake nothing. You're going to get the real me, whether I like you or not. And I think that's what sometimes they run into the fakeness in our community. And then the fakeness takes over. And then the assumptions come. They don't really know the real community because they don't know so many trans people. So I think a panel from different agencies, including trans women, trans men, non-binary, gender conforming, all of that there needs to be a panel so we can go out and speak and educate people rather than them having assumptions that aren't true.
Well said. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have a few more minutes left, and I'll give you guys the floor if there's anything you want to close with.
All right. I'll talk to you later, Kendra. See you in a minute, Naomi.
I'll see you in a little bit. Leaving, I will say that
I'll let them know if you're late. I'll let them know.
Okay.
All right.
One thing I will say is leaving this, keep an open mind when you see women of our experience. We are not just sexual objects. We are not things to just be exposed and tokenized. We are just as beautiful as you see us. We're not something to be hidden away in a closet. We are just as smart. We are just as intelligent. I know girls who are like me who are lawyers. The girls like me who are doctors. We are a plethora of things. Remember that and value us for that. We're not just something to be stored away and forgotten about. So yeah, that's me. No problem. Well, I
know you do. You have another meeting. I understand that. Did you want to plug your sorority while you're on the line?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I will in a little bit.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yes, thank y'all, and I'm loving this, and thank you for all that you're doing, all the hard work you're doing. I see it, so I am happy to be managing the team that you're on. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
No
I
problem.
appreciate it. It's been my pleasure to work with you this last week. I'm looking forward to doing great things with you.
Oh, we're gonna wreck some stuff up there. All right, bye.
Bye. Well, that was Gender Q. That was my first episode. Thank you all for showing up and asking some great questions and listening to some wonderful women speak. Remember, this is Black History Month, and honor Black history this month, and make sure that you reach out for the stories that are out there. The stuff that isn't in our normal textbooks, the stuff that isn't in our everyday lives. Reach out and find that information. Make sure you reach out to the Black community and actually listen to their stories. It is important. So So thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you again next month.